All right, it's Transformation Tuesday again. Jude Matejek here, Life Master Consultant and World Class Paradigm Shifter. How do you like my new background here, Deb?
Love it.
It's a puzzle, and where in the puzzle is your piece? Like I think yours is somewhere in the ocean somewhere.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, so welcome everybody. This is Transformation Tuesday again, and my name is Judy Matejek, Life Mastery Consultant and World Class Paradigm Shifters. And this is Transformation Tuesday, where we're coming together as a dedicated community to shift and uplift the planet. Yeah, and we've been going strong since March of 2020, every Tuesday, getting the feel of what's out there on our planet and where it is the topics we are feeling called to bring forth and uplift. So this September 2024 has been about the topic of standing firm. Yeah, standing firm when our world is shaking. And so let's do a little recap of where we've been, and then I'll introduce Deb Marlor, my buddy. So as we come in for this, as we sail into this fourth week of standing firm when your world is shaking, the truth is that we never really complete this work because we are in a world of circumstance. The opportunity to apply the things that we've been talking about just gets more deeply ingrained in us as we move forward in life. We were just talking about that, Deb. So, in everyone's life, there are certain times in this human journey that, in order for us to wake up to that next level, it requires a sufficient jolt to our awareness to shift us into the higher frequency. All right. It can happen with sudden diagnosis, or a phone call where somebody you love has had their life changed, and that changes yours. You open the mail and find out that the pension plan that you thought was safe and secure is not. Whatever your version is something, it happens. Sometimes it happens like boom. Under other times it happens more slowly, and life sends soft signals. Now, today in this final a new beginning phase today is to become aware of those soft signals. Because if we don't pay attention, we're going to get some stronger signals from the universe to help us ultimately stay on course with our own soul patterns of life purpose. I love all these sailing terms, right? So if we learn to pay attention to the soft signals and ask ourselves some key questions, we might be able to avoid the jolt. So we're going to come in here, and for our speaker is Deb Marlowe, Captain Deb Marlowe, coming to us from her. You are in your
Yeah.
boat?
Yeah. I'm on Simplicity. I'm yeah, in our whopping 300 square feet.
That is so cool. Well, so let me give a little bit of background about Deb. At the early age of 8, her father died. So this was an unexpected and traumatic experience. But as she transitioned to a young adult, she noticed that she had acquired an unwanted personality trait where she saw herself as a victim of the negative actions of others. This is so perfect. So her sailing school classroom experience was truly one that was far more than a certificate. She enjoyed the support and became intimately familiar with all aspects of boating and its relationships to the environment, experiencing wind and lightning. This experience fostered a deep sense of accomplishment, reinforcing Deb's ability to live intentionally, purposefully, and I love this, with curiosity. So I'm going to introduce you to Deb Marlow. So, Deb, can you come in here and tell us a little bit about your story, maybe what you've learned, how you've grown, where the dark night had taken you, and how you've changed and made decisions?
Yeah, absolutely, Judy. Thank you. And thank you for having me. Um, as this child who was told it was okay to be a victim, that life was different now. Mom was really traumatized by the death of my dad, and I it was until I did the work. I've been with Mary now for 6 years. I began with her, well, almost 6 years, so in January of 2019. And one of the greatest learnings that I had from Mary Morrissey is the reminder that people do the best they can from where they are with what they have. And this woman, my mom, had her mother die when she was 14, and she was being raised by a Scotsman who had her two brothers and herself. And at 14, he gave my mom away to a home for wayward girls. And I had heard the stories, and they never really, they were superficial to me until this time when I began the work that I was doing, learning to be a coach. And it just kind of smack dab hit me in the head. And I'm like, wow, here's this woman that's in her early 30s. She has 3 children. And I come to really hear that her journey and her navigation was losing her mom, her dad saying, I don't know what to do with you. I'm going to go drink scotch, and I'm going to wallow in my victim of losing my wife, and I'm going to give you away because I don't know what to do with you. You're a girl. And and there were several men in this community who were doing that. Like it was a good idea that these women should go to this place. And for whatever reason, they found each other. And they had this community of women who became the best friends. And those women stayed together for life. And I didn't appreciate that as a child. But what I did see is that my mom didn't have, she was a classic victim. And she was told that, life is different now. You are a widower, you have 3 children, you better go to work, and you better pay off the house, and you better do this, this, and this from her advisors. And she did everything that she was told to do. And she was very unhappy. And the trauma was deep for her. She spent 30 days in her bedroom, didn't come out. And then finally, she kind of kicked herself in the butt and came out. But we didn't see mom for almost 30 days. I can remember for myself in this situation that it was pretty lonely. And I had a very special relationship with my dad. And my dad and I would have this morning conversation while he was shaving. And I've always been vertically challenged. So in my 5 feet of grandeur, I was pretty small, and I was a little towhead. And Dad just had a sparkle in his eye every morning when he was talking to me while he was shaving. And it was just this very, very special time for me. And as I can remember the day mom came home and she told us, Daddy's not coming home. It was in 63. And my brother and I was standing next to my mom, and I was watching my brother. He was looking out the window, and I watched my brother change from a high school boy to a man. The transition was incredible. And my brother was always always there for me. Even though, he went off, got married, did all his stuff, but as a high school girl, and he even wore a Shaker sweater that was the same color as mine. And he and his best friend Jim would take me to the hockey game, and I'd have my little kilt on and my knee socks and all that. And he was great. He was just a great big brother. And I remember when I turned 18, 20, 23, I'm still this victim. And in the mid 70s, I had the opportunity to begin my transformational studies. So a long time ago. And I studied under Werner Erhard in the EST organization. So very long time ago. But one of the things that we talked about in that conversation was about, you don't get to be a victim, you get to be accountable. And it was really huge for me. And I can remember coming home back to Erie, Pennsylvania, and going to the cemetery and having a conversation with my dad. And he was there, he was present. And he was like, I will always be with you. I am always with you in spirit. And all of a sudden, that shift that began to occur in me was, I don't have to be a victim. I don't have to live my life the way that mom said I did, because see, she thought it was clear, and I was different, and that I wasn't going to get certain things, I wasn't going to get to do certain things, that my life was planned because I was a victim. And I was like, no, what if I could? That question of, well, why not? Why can't I? So what that I'm a girl who loves to play sports. Why can't girls have sports? I'm before Title IX. I know I don't look it, but I am. And so here I am. I'm like, why not? So I go to my school and I say, why can't the girls have athletics? Why can't we have softball? Why can't we have basketball? And why can't we have track? And my principal said, are you willing to make it happen? And I said, you bet. Because I'll give you $200. You match that $200 in some kind of fundraising, and you can have the cafeteria, and you can bring whatever you think is necessary together, which I brought every PE teacher from my tri-county together, because I believe that women should have the same opportunities as guys. I've got goosebumps, Judy. And that they should have this opportunity. Now, this is before my work, but I questioned and I was curious, why not? Why not? Why can't we play? Why do, the why? And so here we are. Within 3 years, by my senior year, we went to what was called the state meet in all three of our volleyball, basketball, and softball. All three. Our boys did state and won the state championship, both in my junior and my senior year. And even though it would be easy to fall into being a victim, I began to see that there was light, that there was something else possible. And I went to college, and I was free, and it was different. And drinking was a big deal, and drinking was fun. And I chose that path and didn't get very good grades. And so I didn't get invited back to my second year of college. So I went to work, and I was bored, and I got a second job. And my second job became my first job. And there was this opportunity for me to move from Erie to Cleveland, Ohio. And I started a career working for Brown Shoe Company. What was interesting, as I did that, my transformational studies continued with me. I continued to do the programs that Warner had put out in the late 70s and early 80s. And I began seeing and looking through a different lens. Now, I know that that's the same time frame that Mary was studying in her way, various authors, various transcendentalists. And then, as we're doing this, there's lots of opinions and everything. But what really became clear is that I got to be accountable. And I began asking the question, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not? My next move was to California. I'd never been west of the Mississippi River. And so I packed up my little Dodge Omni because I had gone from the shoe business to the insurance business. And a couple years had transpired. And I get to San Francisco and I'm overwhelmed, truly overwhelmed. I've never seen such a city. And it was the, early 80s. And some people would say, hey, that was a really cool time. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot of weirdness out there. And that was not what was going on in Cleveland and Erie, Pennsylvania. And I'm
from a little south of Erie, and you're just like, especially when you said tri-county, I know what that means.
You even know it, right?
All of the opposition that you face along the way, like, what? Are you crazy? And then deep down inside, yeah. You remember of that part where it's like that pull, the push of the pull of the vision, or the push from the familiar. But yeah, keep going on. So now, I mean, I remember thinking, well, out west meant Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's this thing called the Mississippi River, and it's got a big bridge that you go over. And it's like, this is a river? Because I had learned to sail. I had begun my sailing stuff in Cleveland. That was kind of where I had found sailing, was on Lake Erie. And so when I can remember making this turn. I come across the desert through Nevada, and I went up the backside of the Sierras, and I got to Lake Tahoe, and I turned, and all of a sudden the evergreen trees cleared, and there was this magnificent sapphire blue lake called Lake Tahoe. And I had never seen anything so magical and beautiful. And I had stayed in Motel 6 all the way across the country. And I knew that I was afraid and I didn't know what was next, but I just kept going because I had a calling, and I kept going. And what I find interesting is that every time we have circumstances, because there were lots of circumstances, I get to San Francisco, my job is there, I'm doing my job, and then I find out the person that I'm working with is stealing money from the man that we're working for. We're working for one of the largest mutual benefit organizations in the country. And I was compelled to share that because I didn't want to be part of it. And I lost my job because they closed that entity. I didn't know where I was going to do, where I was going, what I was going to do, all of that, but I knew it would be okay. I knew something was in me that it would work out. And I had a choice. And I think this is, not knowing that I really had a choice, but I had a choice. I can be a victim of this and sit around and cry and go drive my car off a cliff, or, well, what would I like to do? And I said, I'd like to go skiing. I've been working since I was 12 years old. Why not? And I'm like, I start dialing up all of the ski resorts in Lake Tahoe. And the next thing you know, I have a job, and I'm Debbie from Kirkwood, doing the ski report and skiing. And I skied 90 days, and I had a great, great year. And over and over again throughout life, we have circumstances. And as we have this opportunity to navigate the circumstances, is that going to frame me and make me who I am? Or is that going to give me an opportunity to grow? And for some reason, I have been blessed with always leaning to, well, I like to have a little bit of victim stuff. So I think Mary says, you can have that for an hour or two, but don't pitch a tent there, right? And I
Yes,
love that.
I was being asked the other question on this podcast, like, tell me more about this pity party that you throw yourself. And I'm like, well, you put it on the calendar 3 days out and make sure that it's on the calendar, right? And in a specific time frame. We're going to start here and end here. And actually honoring that part, and I think our friend calls it not doing a spiritual bypass on it.
Correct.
And moving forward in the face. And another thing is like, okay, if I'm like that and I'm angry, frustrated, and everything, I'm going to bring that angry, frustrated self into the next phase. So that's why the standing firm, it's like, okay, to realize where we are and then go on this beautiful journey and come back a brand new person. So so keep going. I love this story.
Yeah. So each facet of my life, if you will, I kind of equate my life to being a diamond with lots of facets in it, right? And this time of life could have been just awful, but it wasn't. I also, when I came back from skiing, I went to work for Werner for 2 years. I worked on the 6-day staff, and so that was the equivalent to the Outward Bound program. And I was the registrar, and I would be the person who was accountable for taking 100 people to Santa Rosa or Kingston, New York. It depended on which coast I was on because I would travel between the two, and deliver the course of those people to the trainers. And I would sit with the trainers who were all physicians, psychiatrists, medical doctors. All but one was a man, and I was grilled, but I owned it. I owned this, and I don't know how, other than that I was put in the right place. I was trained properly, and I owned it. And that I would bring the people and we would review them. And it was learning to cross the T's and dot the I's, and taking again, building that sense of accountability.
Yeah.
And so each time, as I've gone through this life, there was a time where I had been in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, and that it ended with the boyfriend because he was betraying me, and I cried a lot. And then I went to a trade show, and at that trade show, before I got there, I'm like, I'm not dating. I'm putting my whole life into my career because I'm now in technology, and that was an interesting shift. And that's the year that I met my husband, who this year we are celebrating 37 years together, 36 years married on October 1st. And
I want to fast forward into the last few years in your decision to, live the life you have now, because I most of the people who are on here do not know that you are living on your vote. And so I want to fast forward to that little piece, because that is the new beginning that I saw you get into it. And thank you so much for it's been a series all through your life. So this is like current new beginning. Yeah. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So in 2016, I was in Austin, Texas, your home ground. Again, I keep following you around. And we were actually, the boat was in Kemah. I was in Austin. I had moved my company from Boise there, which again, more, right? Opportunities and stories. But as I did that, I was told that I would never sell my company because it was too boutique. Of course, I sold my company and I became the bank. And on the day that all contingencies were met was June 4th, 2016. And we got in the car, we left Austin, and we went to the boat. And we it was just like, we are able to leave. I have nothing holding me here other than all I have to do is talk to Todd every month, every 2 weeks, whatever it is, and I'm available to be with him and support him. And so we chose to move from our apartment in downtown Austin, looking at the skyline, to the boat. And within a month, we left and we sailed off into the Gulf of Mexico and did a 7-day passage. And we have been on the boat now 8.5 years. And that has taken us to a whole different life. And throughout that time, again, just huge challenges. We don't just get the challenges of our kids and our families and life, we get the challenges of Mother Nature.
Yes.
And those challenges are interesting. And it is there's skill that is required to be on this boat, to live on this boat, to manage and keep ourselves safe. And we've done over 30,000 nautical miles by boat. It's all by boat. And that's not when I'm doing a delivery. I sometimes deliver boats for people. I am a U.S. Coast Guard captain. I'm your sailing life coach, the life coach who's a U.S. Coast Guard captain, and I instruct. I've shifted my whole life to really seeing that there's this thing that I had as a young girl at 23 when I learned to sail. It was my dream to have a boat. And I was in my late 50s when I got that dream, became that woman, and it was a becoming.
I'm going to touch on something that you just said there because it was a dream many years ago in that was floating around, right?
Yep.
And sometimes I'm just over the years I with the people that I work with, coach, it's like, well, it didn't happen now, so I'm going to just completely, quit. We talked about this before, and I'm just going to go back to where I was. And inevitably, the people that keep sailing, and we talked about this before, drifting, we could live a drifting life, and on your boat, you have to keep in alignment, keep focused, keep the structure. And that's the whole thing with the new beginning, is to keep that structure there, because it's so easy to drift from that dream. And how many years later, I was like, it's there. And isn't it youthful?
Yeah. Yeah. The other piece of it in this, and some people say, oh, it's just a notion. No, I wrote it down. In 2012, I created my vision. I had my pictures on my bulletin board in my office. And where I found myself was sitting in my office. Here again, I didn't know I was drifting, but I was drifting from the love that I had for my business that had served me so well. And it was time for me to move on. It was just like the universe tells us. And I finally listened. And the magic of the listening and becoming and hearing that frequency, being able to go, I can. Why not? I do what everybody else does in their offices, and I do it on a boat. Now, I'm not usually at sea when I am doing a client call, but I do my work on the sea. And there's a really interesting process of being in nature and seeing and being free. Having the time, having the freedom, the why not stop in Santa Marta, Colombia? Why not learn? Here I am, I'm 69 years old. I had a birthday a couple of weeks ago, and I'm 69 years old. Tonight I'm going diving so that we can see the spawning of the coral, which happens once a year. So we're doing a night dive. We go sailing. We go and to places here in Colombia that don't speak English and are navigating a whole new world. And it's extraordinary. It's the adventure of a life.
Wow. What
I
if
did.
I know? And the thing is, if it is possible for one, it is possible for everyone, and we all have different, different dreams. But I feel like tapping into that little nudge back here that you had maybe a long, long time ago, possibly when you were a kid or somewhere along the way, where the obstacles were there.
Yeah.
I love that what Matt says, obstacles are not stop signs. They're on the path. So that possibly there's obstacles, and so you went this way, which was great. There are no mistakes. I love it. There are no mistakes because
No.
so wow, new beginnings.
And every day, Judy, is a new beginning. It is that I so appreciate that time of the morning when we move from sleep to awakeness. And my first thought is, thank you, God. Thank you for giving me this day of breath and for giving me this radiant, dynamic health and this extraordinary temple that supports me, a mind that functions well, and that I am here to serve, that my passion, my and to help others who may have this dream or have some analogy of the dream of what their quote unquote ocean dream is, but to really be of service and know that I am the light, that as I walk down the dock and I say buenos dias, or hola or whatever, and it's like every time it's what comes with it is that smile. And what is so rewarding is every time I leave and I come back, I get a hug. I know that I've made a difference in the world if someone is compelled to want to embrace me and say, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. And my I think that we forget sometimes that we have an opportunity to make a difference in the world, and that we get stuck sometimes. I don't watch TV. I have very limited incoming media. I choose what I take a look at and what I don't look at. And it is so refreshing because every day I'm not getting caught up, because for 25 years, we would get up, turn on the Today Show and Jane Pauley and Brian Gumbel until they left. And then it went on and on and on. And it was like, I don't want to start my day that way. I want to start my day in gratitude. I want to start my day at a different frequency and come out and go have my tea up in my cockpit and watch the sun come over the Sierras, because I have an 8,000 foot peak that I look at that is emerald green, here in Colombia surrounding me, and it's just magnificent.
I
You know,
love.
what a backyard.
Yeah, I love it. So this is so great. So I want to emphasize, and then I'm gonna wrap it up here.
Sure.
This whole idea of not just an idea, the importance of accountability, and
Yep.
not and when you find yourself in that, life is happening to me. Immediately, I think I need that right here. Life is happening for me, for this ever freer, expanded growth. And it's such what a great story. I love it. And you're out there living a dream, diving, doing whatever it is. We have one last question that actually I would love. I'm going to switch my last question up. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. If there was a billboard that everybody driving past or anything could see, and there was a message on it that you would love the world to see, what would the message be on your billboard?
Actually, it would be it is possible. It is possible.
So
Judy,
beautiful.
you know where I'm from. I mean, and you know, Erie, Pennsylvania. I am not special. In fact, it's not Erie. It was Harbor Creek, Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh,
And
there's people in Paradigm Sisters from all those areas. Honest to God.
so,
Back home
you
to
know,
Sullivan.
yeah, class of 73. But anyway, not I wasn't a special kid. I wasn't special, but I learned something very special, the gifts early on. And I am just so grateful for that, that for whatever reason, the guidance that I have, the knowing that my dad sits on my shoulder and my brother too, at this point, but and that I have, that I am blessed to have the best partner in the world. And in 36 years, and you've heard me say this before, I am more in love today with my husband, Hugh, than I was the day I married him. And I am just like, I am the luckiest girl on the planet. And I mean, we have an amazing love story.
Yeah.
And someday I'll share about my love story.
We will definitely do that. So we're going to send some energy out to you, and your job is
Oh,
to
thanks.
receive that energy all over the globe, the land and sea, the earth, the sky. Here you go. Energy to you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you.
we'll put in like where you can get a hold of you. We'll put that in the thing and all of that. But what a great way to sail into this, end of September, beginning of October, and knowing that we're right here, right now, being so blessed. So
Yeah.
appreciate you on Transformation Tuesday. Again, thanks. Thank you so much,
Thank
Deb.
you. Thank you, Judy.
There you go. Wow, that was fun.
Who
Oh,
knows where they're going to go?
let me see.
Are you off?
Not quite.